Hey, welcome to EPN. My name is Victor Lucas, and we bring you the latest in everything cool every single day. And now we bring it to you from our new space at the VFS Cafe in Vancouver, BC. That's at 390 West Hastings Street. And we do EP Lives every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as long as we are in town. And I realize that Blake and I were just out of town, so we didn't do one on Monday. But we do them very often, and we'd love for you to come on down and watch a live show when you can. This rundown is going out to new members, Suralink and Hangham High Hilton. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get started with your rundown. We all knew this was coming. The Netflix and Marvel partnership has sadly come to an end. Netflix has officially announced that they've canceled the last two of their Marvel shows, The Punisher and Jessica Jones, hammering the final nail in the coffin. This means no more new episodes of The Punisher, which recently launched its second season, while the third and final season of Jessica Jones will arrive later this year. This seemed inevitable after Netflix pulled the plug on their other Marvel shows, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and the crossover, The Defenders, but that doesn't make the news any easier for fans. So who's to blame? At first, many assumed it was Marvel parent Disney's decision to kill the shows, wanting to instead have their properties on their own streaming platforms. But more recently, rumors have surfaced that the decision was actually made by Netflix. It seems the streaming giant didn't want to keep investing in expensive shows with characters that they didn't ultimately own, and a new statement put out by Marvel confirms this. In an open letter to fans, Marvel Television head Jeff Loeb says that their network partner, Netflix, decided that they no longer wanted to continue telling the tales of these great characters. He leaves a glimmer of hope, however, saying that we'll be seeing more of the characters, although it's unclear if he just means new comics or proper continuations of the same shows on a Disney-owned platform. We'll have to wait and see. I think he has just opened the door to these shows being picked up by Hulu. I don't think that they're going to be on the Disney Plus streaming service, but they might be. I think that they're trying to tailor that to a more family-friendly crowd, and if anybody has seen Daredevil or The Punisher or Luke Cage or any of these shows, they're extremely violent, and they are definitely skewing to the more mature comic fan out there. I've really enjoyed most of these properties, had some problems with Iron Fist, and The Defenders was a big letdown, but there is some excellent work in these series. But, you know, I'm kind of hopeful that Disney and Marvel are cooking up something. They've invested heavily in getting us to know these characters and getting us to know these particular shows, so it would be great to see them picked up again. I think Hulu is actually not a bad fit, and Disney's become a major shareholder in the platform, so I guess we just have to stay tuned.
Do something about it.
And now that Netflix partnership has come to an end, Marvel and Disney are doubling down on new shows for their own streaming platforms. The new Loki TV series for the upcoming Disney Plus streaming platform has found itself a showrunner. The series will be overseen by Michael Waldron, who served as a writer on Community and Rick and Morty. Given his background, this could indicate that the series will have a more comedic tone, but then again, two other Community veterans, Joe and Anthony Russo, have been making Marvel movies that aren't exactly silly. The new Loki series will see Tom Hiddleston reprise the mischievous role, although no official word if the series will take place before or after the events of Infinity War. The series is just one of several big shows being made exclusively for Disney Plus, alongside other Marvel series focusing on Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch, not to mention several live-action Star Wars shows. The service starts streaming this fall. And we're also hearing about other Star Wars shows based on the characters that are populating the recent J.J. Abrams trilogy. So I think that Disney is saying, look, we have to invest heavily with the characters and the properties that we've been building up into our streaming service if we're going to start taking away subscribers from Netflix, and that's exactly their end game here, no pun intended. They absolutely want to bring as many people over. They want people to cancel Netflix and pick up Disney Plus, and I think the only way that they're going to do that is if they double down and make tons and tons of content. Disney has a never-ending assortment of characters and stories and properties that they can make and remake, and that's what they're going to do. They recognize the future is subscription, and the future is streaming, and the future is a digital library that people can access at any time from anywhere, and that's what Disney Plus is going to be about. The challenge that Disney's going to have, and we saw this a little bit with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and even the Netflix Marvel shows, is overstaying their welcome with characters that we are excited for. And I think one of the challenges that particularly Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ran into is too many episodes doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. So hopefully everything on these shows is handled with some grace and with some recognition that we first fell in love with these characters from these awesome movies. And hopefully they don't let us down with like cheesy TV effects or overly melodramatic storylines or something like that. And it's all up to Disney now to make us true believers.
And that way, it might be really good.
It's going to take a little longer to dig up a treasure trove of Shovel Knight adventures. Developer Yacht Club Games has delayed the release of the game's new Treasure Trove content on all platforms, as well as its new amiibo figures for the Nintendo Switch. Treasure Trove is a new complete edition of the game that includes the original campaign and its existing expansions, as well as a new expansion focusing on the villainous King Knight and a new multiplayer mode called Showdown. The new amiibo figures are based on the King Knight, Spectre Knight, and Plague Knight characters and will accompany the plain old Shovel Knight amiibo that was released in 2016. All this new stuff was slated to arrive in April, but the developers say that they need more time to tweak and polish the King of Cards and Showdown expansions, and they also want to make sure that they release the physical versions of the game at the same time as the downloadable ones. They haven't provided a new release window, but they say the delay will be several months. I'm not disappointed by the delay. Yacht Club knows what it's doing. They've over-delivered with everything having to do with Shovel Knight up to this point, so I expect that this is exactly what Treasure Trove is going to be. It's going to be so much content and so much fun, and these characters are fantastic. So I can't wait to play all of this stuff, but I can wait for these guys to get it right. Nintendo is having great success with the Switch, but Sony's last handheld is dying a slow and painful death. The company has announced that they're ending production on the handheld PlayStation Vita in Japan. They've already ended production everywhere else in the world, so once the final units roll out of Japanese factories, those will be the last new Vitas available to buy. After that, the only way to get one will be to buy it used like other old gaming devices, meaning that the Vita has been discontinued. This brings to an end the life cycle of the handheld device. It first launched in 2011, but never really took off, with Sony blaming this on the rise of smartphone gaming and the fact that consumers no longer needed a dedicated handheld gaming device. However, others argue that Sony never really supported the system with first-party games and point to the success of other devices like the Switch as evidence that there's still demand for handheld gaming. Yeah, the Vita was awesome when it first came out. It was really a staggeringly powerful handheld device, but I think what everybody really wanted was a portable PlayStation 4 that you could access your library from. Now, you could do the streaming and you could access content that way, and of course you could hack the Vita and you can get tons of old PSP games. But if Sony had done something where it was at par with the PlayStation 4 in terms of hardware, I think that thing would have been incredibly, enormously successful. They would have basically taken the rug out of what the Switch is doing right now for Nintendo. It would have been a system that you could plug into your TV or walk away with, and it would have been immensely powerful and incredibly successful. But that would have been an engineering nightmare because they would have had to overpower the system and give it all kinds of battery support, and it would just be burning red hot to be able to run PlayStation 4 caliber visuals. I'm curious if Sony is thinking about anything like that with the PlayStation 5 or future PlayStation machines. Certainly they're seeing the success of Nintendo Switch. It's going to be very curious to see if Sony ever has a response for that. Now, speaking of Sony, the PlayStation 5 is right around the corner, but Sony is going to have some competition from one of the biggest companies in the world. After years of rumors, Google is poised to finally unveil their long-awaited game console. The tech and entertainment giant has announced that they'll be holding a keynote during next month's Game Developers Conference, where they'll be revealing something. And although they haven't said what that something will be, many expect it to be their long-rumored console. Google has apparently been working on the device for several years, and if the rumors are true, it will be a cloud streaming platform that runs games using their cloud-based service Project Stream, which they began testing late last year. A giant like Google would obviously be a major rival for other first-party game makers like Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. This is where things get interesting. This might be a huge paradigm shift for our industry. Google, of course, has a lot of name brand recognition outside of game, and they have the clout and the bank account to partner on some pretty big announcements like they did with Assassin's Creed Origins last year. You could stream that for free just by signing up and testing their Project Stream service. But the video game industry is not a slow-moving thing. It's constantly changing and constantly evolving, and that competition of all of these different companies trying to get in and trying to figure out, where their markets might be, always provides some interesting new experiences for us. I think we're going to see some pretty big announcements from Google in the video game space this year, and it's going to be crazy.
More speed!
It sounds like Sony is going to really ham it up with their latest Spider-Man movie. The studio has announced that the animated blockbuster Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse will hit Blu-ray on March 19th, with a digital release happening 3 weeks earlier on February 26th. The film will come with the usual assortment of behind-the-scenes content showing how they brought the unique animation style to life, and on top of that, there will also be an all-new animated short focusing on supporting hero Spider-Ham. Known as Spider-Ham Caught in a Ham, the short will show how Peter Porker, also known as the Spectacular Spider-Ham, got sucked through a trans-dimensional portal, leading to his appearance in the film. John Mulaney will reprise the vocal role, and the short itself is being co-created by Sony Pictures Imageworks, the same animation studio behind the movie. I am so excited to watch this again and again at home, to go frame by frame and see how all of that animation came together. It was awesome having people from Sony Pictures Imageworks into EP Live. We've got a great interview with those guys. Phenomenal movie, and one of the best things about the film, apart from a story that really gets into your heart and fantastic work by all the actors involved, is it looks unlike all the other animated work that's out there. And it's breathtaking. It's absolutely staggering. So I can't wait to dive in and to look into all the nooks and crannies and discover all the Easter eggs. I can't wait for a sequel as well, which I explained to the animators that visited us on EP Live. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for our rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow with a brand new EP Live for you. That starts at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be in our space here at the VFS Cafe at 390 West Hastings. Would love for you to come on down and watch the show. We're going to have a great guest, and we're going to have a lot of fun with the games that we're going to be talking about as well. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting us and becoming a member. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button and that like button. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, play forever.